I think overall that Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi is a spectacular piece of Star Wars space opera magic, although its screenplay isn't as solid as the two preceding pictures. The cinematographic majesty of Lucas's world building is on full display, as impressive as ever from a VFX perspective, and a monumental experience among the film canon. What hurts this film most of all is obviously the Ewoks, but also the fact that Luke and Leia are retconned to be siblings is just silly and too coincidental and trite. Of course, one may know that Luke was always intended to have a sister, or for a while, Yoda was indeed referring to his sister when he claimed, in The Empire Strikes Back, that there is another. Of course, Leia feeling Luke through the Force so that they could rescue him in Cloud City could be claimed as foreshadowing this reveal. One may be aware that Luke and his sister to be battling the Emperor across episodes 7 to 9, although Return of the Jedi is where he decided to wrap up everything instead, in episode 6. I really wish the Ewoks were Wookiees, because if they were, maybe Lucas would have tried harder at devising an interesting location for his final battle, other than a relatively lazy excursion into the northern Californian forests. Not nearly as captivating as Cloud City, as Hoth was, or even compared with the visceral fascination of Jabba's palace just before. Wookiees versus the Empire at the end there could have been the coolest thing ever. It would have elevated Jedi closer to Star Wars and Empire, but alas, I have to say, as much as a mess as the Jabba's Palace segment is as a piece of screenwriting, the puppets on display just make me giddy. I love monsters so much, and the Rancor is just a wonderful experience. Now, that space battle above Endor is possibly my favourite in Star Wars history, and I will say what distinguishes Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith from other Star Wars films is that they feel too fluid and not mechanical enough. There is a distinct appeal to the original trilogy, which is mostly lost or differently applied in the prequel trilogy. I consider Phantom Menace to be rather close, aesthetically, to the original trilogy. Star Wars is a fairly straightforward space opera concept, a nice playground for composing interstellar battles and futuristic warfare within an exciting space context. I consider the first two films to be utterly magnificent, Return of the Jedi to be lesser, although I still admit a love for it regardless. I am fond overall of great reservations of the Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones is indicative of everything I do dislike about the prequels, and no one can do anything except claim that Attack of the Clones checks boxes in order to defend it, and claiming a film is checking boxes for some scaffold of experimentation is de facto proof that it was not at all experimental, and even experimental as a plus is very relative, frankly. The value of Andy Warhol's undeniably experimental films vary. Revenge of the Sith is my third favourite Star Wars film. I really like Force Awakens, safe and homaging as it was. Rogue One is a tribute to those of us who were obsessed with Star Wars as a fan phenomena, obsessed with the artwork, the imagination, plus the pre- and pubescent daydreaming. I do appreciate it, I'll be real. Last Jedi I mostly dig, but some of it is quite subpar, unfortunately. Solo I will never watch ever. Rise of Skywalker, not a very big fan of that. And those TV series, I don't need them. I just don't. So Star Wars, The EU, some novels, Timothy Zahn, Thrawn Trilogy, read those were quite great. Some cool video games, BioWare, Rogue Squadron, comic books, I love Dark Horse comics in general. Great Clone Wars material. Great Clone Wars cartoon, the first one, not the next one. Fairly fun fictional universe. I think I prefer the seriousness and consistency at one time of Star Trek, although Star Trek succeeded for 3 or 4 shows, if we count the animated series, movies 2 and 3, and then became irrelevant in the 21st century. Oh well, let's move on from these things, for now anyway. Do you like Return of the Jedi? Let me know if you're inclined. I'm fond of it, but I think this will be the last major Star Wars feature I make a video for, although I may discuss some behind-the-scenes documentaries at some stage. I need a break from Star Wars, as I suspect we all do, everywhere.